Imagine walking into one of the most luxurious estates in Beverly Hills, but instead of a master bedroom, you find yourself in a crypt. In the center of the room, beneath a heavy Gothic chandelier, sits a genuine coffin lined with black silk. This isn't a movie prop. It's Bela Lugosi's bed. Every night, the actor would lie down in this casket, convinced that his role in Dracula had placed a real curse upon him. His home became more than just a residence. It was an architectural engine of slow self-destruction, a place where the line between reality and nightmare blurred more with each passing day. The estate loomed over Hollywood like a dark stone shadow. Lugosi didn't demand comfort from his architects. He wanted dramatic tension. The space was meant to be oppressive. Tall, unnaturally narrow hallways mirrored the inner passages of ancient pyramids, where every footstep was muffled by heavy velvet drapes. The air felt thicker here than in ordinary homes. Gradually, the house transformed into a physical replica of a Transylvanian castle, the very one Lugosi seemingly never managed to leave after the final take. The walls of this place didn't offer solace. They amplified the fears the actor had brought home from the screen. Every niche in the house was designed as a dark void. Shadows pooled in these hollows as if the house were deliberately collecting darkness in its corners. Cold stone, sharp angles, and deep arches created a strange acoustic environment. A simple draft in the hallway turned into a faint whisper, and the coffin in the center of the bedroom was only the beginning. In this house, the very space was engineered to make its owner forget who he was before he became Dracula. Lugosi turned the layout of the house into a literal labyrinth designed to dismantle his own identity. His most bizarre requirement was an absolute ban on mirrors. The actor ordered any surface capable of reflecting a face to be removed or covered. He was terrified of seeing not himself in the glass, but the demon he had once brought to life on screen. With the mirrors gone, so was any chance of reminding himself who he truly was. The space itself was constructed so that Lugosi never felt alone. Countless hidden corners created the sensation of being constantly watched. He placed Gothic statues within these niches, which, in the dim light, appeared to be alive. These stone figures seemed to follow him with their eyes as he moved from room to room. It was a true architecture of paranoia, a house where every detail reinforced the feeling that the curse of Dracula had become the only real power in this hillside crypt. Over time, the actor began to perceive these statues as the true inhabitants of the estate. He spoke to them, searching their cold stone faces for confirmation of his own greatness. Drafts passing through hidden cavities in the walls created faint sounds. In the dead silence of the bedroom, these noises began to resemble whispers. Slowly, the house itself seemed to come alive. It was as if it breathed in the darkness, convincing Lugosi that the rightful masters of this place were not humans, but shadows, alcoves, and stone figures. To finally sever his connection with the outside world, Lugosi ordered the walls and windows to be draped in yards of heavy, dense fabric. It didn't just block out the light, it swallowed sound. The silence in the rooms became so absolute that the actor began to hear his own breathing and the rush of blood in his temples. In this acoustic vacuum, the world beyond the estate gradually began to feel unreal. The silence quickly became the perfect breeding ground for his mania. When Lugosi spoke to himself, his voice carried almost no echo. His words sounded strange, as if they were being uttered by someone else, hidden behind layers of velvet. The house had transformed into a massive filter that stripped away everything human, leaving the actor alone with the persona that had consumed his life. Eventually, Lugosi began to physically reconstruct the estate. He ordered the construction of false walls and the bricking up of doorways, creating dead ends without any logic. The home became an architectural puzzle. The actor attempted to recreate the geometry of the castle from his film, a space where rooms existed not for living, but for shadows and dramatic camera angles. He replaced ordinary doors with massive oak gates featuring heavy wrought iron bolts. Opening each one required physical strength, turning even a short walk down a hallway into an ordeal. The staircases were rebuilt to appear steeper and more treacherous than they actually were. Lugosi wanted to feel the resistance of stone and wood. He craved a monumentality that oppressed even himself, a constant reminder that he was no longer the master, but a prisoner of his own legend. As a result, the estate devolved into engineering chaos. Electrical wiring was hidden behind faux stone panels, and modern light switches were replaced with heavy metal levers. Lugosi fought comfort as if it were an enemy destroying the atmosphere of his fictional world. In this house, there was no room for ordinary life, no newspapers, no breakfast by the window, only cold architecture that dictated every gesture and every step. The finale of this story looked as if it had been directed by the house itself. In August 1956, this stone labyrinth finally closed forever. When doctors and police crossed the threshold, they found themselves not in a living space, but in a frozen frame from a horror movie. Amidst absolute silence, surrounded by velvet and stone gargoyles, Lugosi lay in his coffin. The house had fulfilled its leading role. It became the stage where the actor finally merged with his persona. The police were shocked by the state of the premises. Bricked-up doors, false walls, and a total absence of mirrors created the impression that it wasn't a man who lived here, but a creature trying to escape its own reflection. The air was heavy with dust and aged velvet. The home had turned into a hermetic time capsule that preserved its owner's madness in its purest form. According to his will, Lugosi was buried in his full Dracula costume, the final touch in his bizarre architectural screenplay. After the master's death, the estate quickly began to decay, as if it were held together only by the strength of his obsession. Furniture and belongings were sold at auctions as macabre artifacts. People scrambled for the right to own the chairs he sat in and the chandeliers that once lit his coffin. Bela Lugosi's house remains in history not as an architectural landmark, but as a strange warning. Sometimes we build walls to hide our fears, but sometimes those walls become a cage. Lugosi built this house to remain Dracula forever, and in the end, it was this very house that became his final casket. Which detail of this estate struck you the most, the absence of mirrors or the crypt bedroom? Let me know in the comments. I read every thought, and subscribe so you don't miss the next stories about houses that slowly drove their owners mad.